Guys, we're here with Richard Mullen and IoT and Industrial Engineering, understanding kind of some of the unique things that we were doing in this space each year. You guys are out here, but each year you add just a little more capability. Well, your capabilities keep growing and you keep getting better. And so I'm curious because there's a lot of different stuff that needs to be aggregated here. Can you walk us through what you've got?
Yeah, absolutely. So two things that we're really talking about in this particular demo. The first thing is about this idea of IT-OT convergence. And it's the idea that you have IT policies that are set, but then implemented on the OT side of the house. And that's what we're really showing right here. We have two topology rings, one Profi, one Ethernet IP behind me. And we use this tool, the Industrial Network Director, that takes a policy down from IT, so set in IT about how we're going to provision these switches, but we have a different interface than maybe you've accustomed to see on some of the other broadcasts this week from Cisco Live. Here we're just provisioning all our switches, so QoS and traffic, packet, how we're going to run the packets here. And then this switch is talking in this case to an HMI or a PLC, or in this case a Siemens drive. So we've got interoperability with our switch, and it's now provisioned down to this level, and we're able to basically run that traffic and then run it back up through the network. So again, a very easy tool for OT operators, for for people that are running their plants, and able to basically run this communication network. All right, now let's talk about the second thing that we really added onto this, which is security. Right, we've got these PLCs are vulnerable to attacks. We've had a number of cases both in Europe and the United States where malware, ransomware has gotten into a PLC and it can corrupt that, take down the line. And that was previously a big barrier to bringing IP down to the plant floor. If we start opening up our systems, they could be hacked. What they're finding is actually any of these types of systems are vulnerable to attack. So what have we done to ameliorate that? Now we're looking at the traffic between the switch, and in this case the PLC, and we've got that segmented by these different segmentation tags. Right? We now combine our Industrial Network Director tool with both ICE and StealthWatch to take a look at what's going on from a traffic perspective. So from StealthWatch, we look at these segments and we look at packet flow, so because we can investigate packet flow between the PLC and the switch. And if we start to see packets pooling, we know that there's an anomaly going on, so we have anomaly detection, and we know that we'd start to look for ransomware in these PLCs and then begin to isolate it. Second thing we do is with identity. So we have vendors, we have people coming onto your plant floor, and they've got software that they need to update these systems. Okay? So they come on in, they tunnel into the factory network. Well, what we want to do is, in this case, we got our vendor coming in via AnyConnect, right? So we'll build a secure tunnel, come through our firewall right here, and then we'll identify them using the Identity Services Engine. So now we can absolutely limit the entire plant floor as to what this remote vendor can see. In this case, segment 777, just talking to this PLC. So keep now being able to block off that plant network every time that we've got a vendor, even a worker, trying to access that.
So let me ask you, is it a common situation with industrial networks that have been around a long time, well before digitization was ever becoming a thing? There's so much investment, and are there people that run these networks that think, I can't digitize because I've got too much existing investment, and you're going to want to make me rip it all out?
Right, I think that's absolutely right. You have a lot of these PLCs that have been running for 30 years, and we're not looking to disrupt that market. What we're looking to do is integrate with that market. Nice. So that's where this is really a conversion point from these legacy systems into IP. This is where IP is getting all the way from the network all the way down to the edge. And how can we work with that? And we'll talk about this in our next demo. Perfect. On being able to pull data out of these systems, because it's really around exposing data, but in a safe and secure way, managed in the network. So we have that ability of bringing all the power that we have in a full network stack in this solution.
All right, Richard, thank you so much. Guys, come check out IoT Threat Defense.
It's easy to find us with the big wall.
The big wall.
Yeah.
There's several big walls, lots of big information on them as well. Come check it out, see if you can catch Richard before we all head back at the end of the conference. Hey guys, we're here in the, well, I was kind of calling it the IoT booth, but specifically
really
talking
IoT
about
Industry District is where to find us, right here on the floor.
Perfect. Richard Mullen is here. So you've got factory networks. We tend to think of these as being old, staid, they run to a certain extent.
Yep.
and we can't modernize them unless we're going to rip and replace, but you're saying we don't have to rip and
No,
replace.
this is really a a brownfield opportunity for Cisco where we're able to integrate into that. That's what we have built on kind of our simulated factory wall. I'm going to walk through a number of different points here. Please come on by and take a look at it. It's got a lot to see. So first thing you'll notice is our Cisco switches. So these would be essentially Catalyst switches, but what we've done is we've ruggedized them, and we also can run IOX, or operating system, on the switch. It also has a flash drive where you can just automatically place in exactly some of the configurations that you've got on the switch. So we can run IOX, we can run Cisco Kinetic, I'll talk about that in a second. Microservices, so other small applications like SAS, for example, that you can run directly on the switch. Those integrate into, for example, PLC. So we have both a Rockwell and a Siemens PLC work together going into this switch. So we interoperate with all different types of PLC manufacturers. This is all about getting data out of the factory floor, because that data is right now trapped in these PLCs in the process level switches that we have, and that automation network. The data's trapped in there, and what we hear from customers is, help me liberate that. I can use that to optimize not just my plant floor operations, but my machines, my workforce. More data I have, the more that I can put it to work for me, and that's what we're doing here. We also have taken energy monitoring, so looking at power consumption for machinery. In this case, our partner Panduit, with these lick and stick sensors for vibration and fluid levels, make it very easy to get instrumentation on like a motor or pump where you never would have been able to see what was going on under the skin. Now you just put one of these on, tie it into a gateway, and then connect it back to our switch. We're then converting all of this into IP. That's the key element that we're doing here. Right, so what we have is we're showing, this is the data layer, so we're showing how we can manage all these switches. This tool over here, the Industrial Network Director, takes the IT policy that you would have done in an SD Access Fabric, for example, and it's an OT tool that graphs that onto these switches. We then fuse that with Cisco Kinetic. That's the data layer that's coming off of all of these switches. So now what we can do is, just look up on my wall, I've got 5 different inputs of data. These 2 PLC drives, my energy monitoring, my lick and stick sensors, stuff coming out of machines. I can now normalize all of that data, all these different silos, break that down, build a very massive data lake. And now I can provide the manufacturer different combinations of data that they can analyze. That's what I'm looking at here. I've taken vibration data from my Panduit sensors, and I'm just doing a very simple historical dashboard. We can also port it over to the UCS, and then take it northbound out to a cloud application. So for example, in Microsoft Azure or in Google Analytics, you could be running your SAP, your SAS application, your Oracle application in the cloud, now taking a much greater version of data. And again, all of this is agnostic, both at the switch level as well as at the data level. So Rob, that's what we've got going on here.
So this is interesting because I think, obviously we start to liberate these silos because I think better decisions come from better data, but you can't get access to the data. It doesn't do any good to continue to upgrade in the silos. So it's nice that we don't have to rip everything out to do it. I think we're going to continue to hear a lot more about FOG, which is a kind of a Cisco framework, is kind of to describe it.
Exactly. It's
much more legitimization in the industry now with that.
Yeah, with FOG really working at the complete edge of the network. I mean, we're right here on the plant floor, so what can we write as applications right here that can tie directly into what they're connected to and then run those microservices right at the edge?
Because a lot of times you want to do localized processing using FOG and not waste trips up to the cloud, which may not make sense from a latency perspective or just a cost perspective.
Exactly, when you're looking at all that backhaul, because these kick out a terabyte of data a day.
Yeah.
So what we're looking for are just those key elements that I want to start sending northbound.
I don't know if you guys had intended this, but I know FOG, from a weatherman perspective, is actually somewhat akin to a cloud on the ground.
Exactly.
And so you think you've got your cloud here, FOG is that same data processing and things happening there, but closer to the endpoint.
Exactly.
And so I see the nice relationship there as well. It doesn't stand for anything, I don't believe. The FOGs, for once,
for
it's
once,
not.
yes, we don't have an acronym. We just got an analogy.
Exactly, just an analogy. So come by here, learn what these things mean, understand how they can work in your environment, and enjoy the show. Richard, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rob.
All right, so there you have it directly from Rob Boyd's mouth. FOG is cloud on the ground. Did I get that right, FOG?
Hey, you did
cloud on the ground. Well, I listen to everything that you say, you know that.
The last 10 seconds, and then you just repeat that.
I'm telling you, there is really nothing like having a conversation, sit down with Richard Mullen, because if you want energy and you want enthusiasm and excitement about what's happening now and what's coming next, 2 words for you, Richard Mullen.
Well, you notice, I don't know, so this is, when we go do these remotes, and you guys go through this all the time as well, there's always a decision to be made as we go work with someone. And Richard's been doing this with all of us for years, but I was like, thank gosh it's Richard, because they have all this physical stuff to show. And I was, and I'm like, how's this going to work with the interview? Because we have one camera that we're doing this on. I know we're going to do pickup shots, but it's going to be hard for the editor to figure out how to follow, because obviously we just did that this morning, because I only had this shirt on for one day. And but Richard's good enough to carry it. So you notice, I would start it, and then I backed way off. And then, we allowed him to talk directly to the camera. We don't usually let anyone do that, but he can pull it off really well. He doesn't.
He's pure energy. I mean, he always has been. If you want somebody who's got incredible enthusiasm, and we look for these people within Cisco, it's not just a matter of talking about your product and knowing what your product does. If you can actually tell a story about that capability.
And a lot of people can tell the story, but whether they're just regurgitating the story they heard from somewhere else,
Can they feel it?
They're gurus. I mean, they and I think they take it very, very seriously. They want to tell the story, and what do they always say about that? It's the circle of it's a circle of trust and the circle of purchase. People don't buy what you sell; they buy why you sell it. They buy how you feel about it. I think that's so much of what we do here at Cisco. We can create great capabilities left and right. We have to tell the right story around them to get people invested in our passion and enthusiasm. Passion's exactly the right word, Lauren.
Yeah, I think so. I think anyone that is, we interview the Cisco champions, we talk to PMs and TMEs and all that, and the best ones truly, their passion just seeps out. And they could be really talking about any product that they like and may not even be caught up on it totally, but if they're passionate about it, then you're going
to see it. You can see it in their eyes, you can hear it in their voice. Sal, we'll see you in a moment.
All right, we're here in the IoT booth with Albert Mitchell, one of those incredibly smart technical marketing engineers who's been telling me about the fact that we need to remember that DNA Center and everything that we can do with the network does not stop at the carpeted environment. There's more to it. I think you were referring to it as the extended enterprise. Is that correct?
So we're going to calling it the extended enterprise because we're going outside of the carpeted space, the air-conditioned space, into a variety of use cases that we'll get into here in a second.
Okay, well, give me some examples of what that means and how it's actually applied, because it makes a lot of sense to me.
Okay, because what we're seeing is the facilities guys and the building management guys are bringing in their solutions, BACnet for building management, physical security cameras for outdoor parking lots and outdoor Wi-Fi sometimes, and we want the networking guys to know that you can work with those facilities guys and the building management guys. We have products and solutions that will work in a managed environment with the same tools that you're using today for all of your management needs. So
this is the part that I didn't completely think of, because I think a lot of people, even that aren't in IT, for many different reasons, and don't pay attention to Cisco, but they may be purchasing network cameras.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily putting them on coax anymore. I think people are putting them on IP, but you're saying they're often building distinct networks just for that.
Yeah.
They're not communicating, or they're communicating at the last hour with IT, where they're looking for a handoff, and you're saying there's a very big missed opportunity for savings and just better control, security, and the whole gamut, right?
I think what we want the IT guys to do is when they get in these conversations with the facilities guys is to say, yes, we can do that. Yes, we can manage that network, right? Go ahead and build it. And we want them, of course, to use the Cisco networking products to facilitate that, because we know that in the end, the OpEx savings for the years that that's going to be deployed are going to be huge over time. So we want them to say yes to those projects.
Okay, so tell me what you've got laid out here.
So what we're talking here is, we have an example of some of our, what we call extended nodes, or these are industrialized switching products that would normally go in outdoor areas. And from an enterprise IT perspective, we see most commonly extending the enterprise for outdoor facilities, outdoor Wi-Fi, parking facilities where you're doing physical security camera, or if you're trying to sense if a parking location is open or not. Sometimes you see those green, red dots over parking lots, right? Yeah. That's all being sensed and has all networking behind it. So you see those sort of like parking areas.
Parking the other day, and the only thing I didn't like is it didn't tell me that some of those spaces were reserved. But I found out they were doing it with a camera, and so one camera along the light grid at the top was because I could go in and search for my license plate to determine where I was parked.
Right.
I thought, oh, that's just ideal.
That's all
Except I now
connected.
got to remember my license plate. But
Yeah.
other than that, it was awesome.
Yeah, exactly. But that's all connected and networked and has to be managed and,
Absolutely.
and maintained and have security updates and things like that, right?
But that
So
security garage should be an extension of the exact same
it's
network.
the exact same
which means your
network.
policies are the same, your
Policies are the
installation's the
same,
same,
right.
and everything's managed from the
Right.
get-go without any worrisome about that becoming also a backdoor into the network.
And some
yeah.
of the other use cases that we see where enterprise networking ends up having to take ownership is in warehouses. Where warehouses, there's a lot of safety, a lot of mobility. They're often trying to track where is somebody, where is something, and they're getting quite sophisticated in warehouses with digitized solutions.
Yeah.
And we have all the products for that. Again, it can be managed with the same tools that they're using today. So,
So
warehouse
location
distribution
tracking,
centers,
sensors, and all that
locations.
type of thing?
Exactly.
Okay.
So just keep in mind that when you're coming on with these kinds of requirements or projects from facilities guys or sort of outside the normal enterprise space, the answer should be yes. We can
Yeah.
do that, right? If we're
It's
going
new.
with a Cisco network,
Yeah.
it'll be no problem for you because it's the same tools, processes.
I gotcha. So we need to remember, those of us who are in the field,
Yeah.
also to have those conversations and understand those projects. It might be a missed opportunity, both for the customer and for ourselves,
Yeah,
of course. You were going to show something about how this is interacting here in DNA Center?
Yeah. So this is, I mean, I'm really excited about the DNA Center and
Yeah, me
the possibilities that it has, because it tells a really good story. And it's working really well also with what we call the extended nodes, which are these devices which are extending outside of the carpeted space. And in this case, in the software-defined access, they are extending outside the fabric.
Okay.
So these extended nodes will attach directly to the fabric edge ports, Catalyst 9300s, and allow you to have the same policies and intent that you would have on the Catalyst 9300s, which are functioning as edge devices,
Right.
and as you do on these devices functioning as extensions of the fabric. So the policies, the intent, the security is still all there.
Okay.
Nothing really changes. Auto-provisioned everything,
Nice.
right? So it's
Just
a-
because we're not under the same ceiling doesn't mean we
exactly.
can't be on the same network.
Just because
Yeah.
it's not in an IDF somewhere, it doesn't mean you can't apply those policies.
Were you going to show us something here?
Yeah,
See what-
sure.
Please, jump right in.
Well, I'm holding the microphone. Let's see if I can do
Yeah,
this
if you can't do
one-handed.
that, I'll hold it otherwise.
Okay, I got it, I think. So I've already taken the time to create a service. So it's all very service-oriented here.
Okay.
So we have a service for what we want to do is we want to deploy outdoor IP security cameras. So I have a virtual network that I've deployed with the IP security cameras, and now I want to assign interfaces where my cameras are plugging in. As you can come down here, when we do host onboarding, you can see all the places where a possible host port could go. So
Okay.
at this point, we're not differentiating between the Catalyst here, the 9300, which is a fabric edge device, with like an IE4010, a 3560CX, which is a compact switch, right, would be sitting on a desktop outside of the wiring closet, a 4000 or a ceiling switch. So at this point, the process and the procedures are all the same. So I'll click on the 4000 here, it brings it up, I get a list of all my interfaces on the 4000, and I would just select this one's open, I'll select it, and I go assign. What type of device am I going to do? It's a camera, so it's not a networking device. And I select my address pool in here. I'm going to select my virtual network. So I could have 20 virtual networks
Yeah, I
to
love the
choose
point
from.
and click. Less errors in
Exactly.
this
So,
situation, too, yeah.
so for this point, I'm really saying which security or which service.
Yeah.
Again, I got to think in terms of
And these
service.
are
Which
preset
service?
by people who are
Preset.
familiar with the policies.
Exactly.
And all
we
part
did-
of the existing.
The whole DNA Center thing is the whole thing where you define a service, who can talk to it, what the IP addressing is, which security groups are allowed in, which are not allowed in. That's all predefined. Now I'm just coming in here, I'm saying, this port, this service, go. And now I'm not really even thinking about anything else at this point. It's like I'm just assigning services to interfaces, and these cameras just come up, communicating with each other. I have I'm recording it back in my data center, right? That's all being leaked out of the fabric.
Which is nice, because I think normally these networks are put in without a thought to IT at that moment in time,
Right.
and they aren't thinking about anything else, and that's the problem.
Yeah.
Is there
And
big open holes for issues.
I think the thing for me I'm really excited about is just creating new services and not really having to think about how the routing's being done. I don't have to go in and update routing tables to add a new service
Yes.
throughout my network, and that part
that
is
about
really
SDA.
cool.
Yeah.
And even though we're working on an extended node here, it's fully automated. So I'm just going to press go, and just like I was connecting it to a fabric edge device, I'm connecting it to an extended device. all the automation is still there.
That's perfect. Let's
Yeah.
keep it all on the same IP
Yeah.
network. Albert, thank you so
Sure.
much. Appreciate your time. So guys, come check this out. Hopefully you can catch Albert in the booth, get all your questions answered. Don't forget about the extended enterprise. They got it all right here.
Alrighty, thank you very much.
All right, great content. Thank you so much, Rob. This is really great stuff. I mean, what's really just been covered in those last 3 videos, that's an entire show right there when you get right down
What
to
was
it.
actually covered in those last
I wasn't
3
paying any
videos, Steve?
attention to it. We already talked about this earlier. I only pay attention to I think I get about 6% on a daily average of
How
how
would
much
you
I'm able to pay
summarize
attention.
what Albert just covered with that younger version of Rob from this morning?
You did. You kind of looked like a small
I've
child,
aged you
didn't
quickly
you?
today.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? Well, again, in this particular case, what were we talking about? We were talking about, again, additional elements of IoT. In this case, we were talking from the camera standpoint, right? Picking up data.
Look at you, you're not backing down
Talking
from a
about
challenge.
software-defined
I'm not
access,
gonna back down. I
talking
don't know.
about DNA
Well,
scenarios.
really, this
Yeah.
was the extended enterprise, which actually is a good point. To a certain extent, the simplicity of all of this is simply about, hey, don't forget that parking garages and facilities and external that may not be carpeted space can be covered by the exact same network, so don't leave those projects to the facilities people who tell IT at the last minute, hey, by the way, I put this whole network up as provided by whatever vendor I happen to be working with. And you're going, no, dude, we could put this on the same thing, keep it easy, save money in the long run. Everybody's a lot better shape.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to put a button on the IoT conversation. We got one more VT that we want to roll to. Lauren was hanging out with Samuel and Luke, and I think this video kind of speaks for itself, you were
I
saying,
think
right?
so.
All right,
Let's
let's
roll
go
it.
ahead. Let's roll it out now.
Hi everyone, I'm here with Luke and Samuel, and we're going to be discussing IoT, how we're working with ecosystem partners, and how we're really bringing that all into the intent-based network as well. So I'm here with Luke, Jaguar Networks. Luke, tell us a little bit about what this service offers, what Jaguar Networks does.
So Jaguar Network is a service provider, a transit service provider of trust and a cloud provider in France, and we're extending our business into the IoT environment, so meaning addressing the specific professional segments with their new data requirements and tons of devices that are going to be connected now.
Very cool. Can you tell us a little bit more about the portfolio?
Yeah, sure. So my team is building actually a set of ruggedized products. So we build product based on the Catalyst switching product that we have at Cisco, the ISR that we have, and we are extending those products to ruggedize them to be able to put them in an environment where typically you don't see those kind of products. So where it's dusty, where it's humid, where it's a lot of dust and those kind of environment, right? That's where what we are designing our product for.
So yeah, basically in kind of harder environments.
Exactly.
Where else are we using these products?
Absolutely, the IoT environment we're addressing are in the space where no IP has been before. So we have to really expand that reach, and this is where we need stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would think the sensors being in those places, that's where you need them.
Yeah.
We're talking about extended enterprise. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so what we do is, we have a lot of customers, and Cisco has been a major player in the IT space, right, where we put switches and router in the carpeted space, right, the office building and things like that. But what we find out is a lot of our customers actually have a production engine, and they have like manufacturing site or warehouse side, where they need to have connectivity, because they need to connect user on maybe on PC, but also security camera, provide wireless and things like that. So they need to provide this connectivity in an environment where a typical product, we may not last so long. So what we are doing, we call it extended enterprise, is we want to make it look and feel the same way as a regular enterprise product. So the way you manage a Catalyst product, it will be exactly the same way you would manage those ruggedized switches.
Yeah,
Okay.
so you mentioned a few challenges there. Let's kind of pivot towards that. As a partner, what kind of customer challenges are you seeing in this space?
Well, the challenges are the same. In fact, we are exploring customers within the, let's say, our customers' organization that are not the same, that are not used to the IP business. So we really have to extend the reach and provide services the same way we're doing in the standard IP world, in the standard transit world, in space where we've never been. So we really need, let's say, the capability to provide some, clean, lean services all over the place. So for that, we really need to be supported in the security framework that trusted partners are required to deploy, and that's our core business. Deploy that for professional segment, for orchestration, in a security, in a trusted manner.
And as we know, those IoT devices get hit hard when it comes to security too, because a lot of times they're not.
Absolutely.
How are we helping with this?
Yeah, so for us, what's really important is at Cisco we have launched intent-based networking, right? And we have DNA Center to help us to orchestrate and automate our network. And what we are doing is we are extending DNA Center to be able to support those ruggedized products. So the IT user can define the policy in an intent-driven policy, right? And we can push those policy up to the real extreme edge of the network where the sensors are connected. So that's one aspect of the thing we are doing. And we are also extended that to integrate with ISE, or Identity Service Engine. So the IT people can really define the policy, but the people who operate those kind of more extreme network can very easily apply the policy because they have the context and visibility of what is connected to those kind of equipment.
Yeah, hopefully drag and drop type of security, making it really simple.
Exactly, UI-driven kind of interaction.
Very cool. What other challenges are we seeing in the IoT space in general?
So I mentioned orchestration because we are going further than usual. So we need to be automated in many ways. I mentioned security, which is key because we have to keep the security level they are used to in their standard IT business. Last point will be interoperability, because all these IoT things is about being technology agnostic and being able to provide interoperability between the different service providers. We're part of them, but we have a lot of friends, a lot of ecosystem that we need to, let's say, maintain in this collaboration framework between different IoT networks for one single customer. So let's say my 3 words are orchestration, security, interoperability.
I think those are very important 3 words, right? To sum it up then, finally, how are we helping customers onboard these things?
Yeah, so for us, obviously when we talk about IoT, what resonates the most is automation, orchestration, obviously, but security as well. So what we are really focusing at Cisco is how do we secure our product, and to yet another level, because the trustworthiness of the system when you are deployed at the edge in an environment that is uncontrolled is extremely important. So really that's our top focus, and once again, integration with the main IT tool, DNA Center and ISE, and simplifying that for the end user is really the key of where we are focusing and where we're investing right now.
I love this use case for DNA Center, SD Access, and all of that good stuff, and edge networking. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate you enlightening us on this. And thank you, everyone, for watching. Stay tuned for more Cisco Live.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Great conversation, Samuel Luke, and by the way, this jacket looking very familiar to me all of a sudden. I don't know, the past few minutes.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that talk with the guys. What was really interesting to you that came out of that conversation?
Just the innovation that we're able to do with our ecosystem partners. I mean, I mentioned that earlier. And then, of course, we talk about IoT, we talk about how we can control all of these edge devices. The cool thing, though, is that we can do drag and drop situations with things like SD Access and DNA Center, really secure things in more of a templated way rather than everything's its own unique snowflake.
Very, very cool. All right, so we're going to go ahead and put the wrap on. Great IoT conversation. Thank you guys for being a part, and thanks for the videos out here as well. For all of you tuning in, we are going to take a very, very short break here. Don't go away. We're going to be back in just a moment with what we call sort of our daily wrap-up show. We're going to learn a little bit about social media and what's been happening with social media throughout the day. We're going to recap some of the highlights of the day and the week as well. We're so glad to have you here with us in Barcelona. We'll be back in just a moment.